Hello there and welcome to vlog number 8, the DailyG number 8, and today I'm gonna continue the journey, which is continuing in Spain. So I have been home for quite a while, about 8 or 9 months, been doing some random work and still, I guess, being in sort of my funk, which was a good word from a friend. And I began to really want to get rid of this funk and to do something. And due to all the seeds that had been planted over all in all, probably 3 years in total, but over the last months of traveling, I guess, before I went to Denmark and also in Denmark, the seeds of walking the Camino to Santiago in Spain was just sort of, it was like, okay, Gideon, you can't really avoid this anymore, you need to do this thing. The last seed, or the last sort of revelation that came about was when I was in my old basketball coach's house and I was looking for Paulo Coelho books because I knew he would have him in English, and I took out The Pilgrimage and I was like, yeah, this makes sense to me, this topic, or being on a journey and so on, of course, because that's what I've been working on with my book and everything else, and that made me just sort of, okay, when I started to read it, it was about the Camino, so I was like, okay, this is the last hint that I need, that I'm gonna go walk this thing. So I decided to do that, and I decided to do that in the beginning of April. So I had a couple of friends in California, and one of their parents lived in Malaga in the south part of Spain, and I went there because I wanted to take all my stuff with me, so I could put all the stuff I didn't need. I could put it there, and then I could go up to Sant Pere de Port on the border to Spain, where the majority of people start walking from. So I decided to go up there. But I first went to San Sebastian, actually, to see another friend that I met in Australia, and spent a few days there. And then I began the Camino on the 8th. I arrived on the 8th to Sant Pere de Port, and I think I began walking on the 9th. And that is one of the most profound experiences of my life. It was all in all 42 days walking across Spain, and I experienced a lifetime of emotions on that trip. Everything from love to hate to disgust, and all the things you can imagine in a lifetime. I went through that in 42 days, so it was quite intense but very life-giving. And the first days, I'll go through the Camino in this way, and I hope I can do this in sort of a short and brief way. And if you want to read into depth about my journey, I will post the link to my blog where I wrote everything that I could from that journey, so you can go through that there and read all about the different days and who I met and what happened. So the way I want to explain this is something I learned along the way, which was the 3 phases of the Camino, which means that the first phase is sort of the superficial phase, the physical phase, where you physically hurt. It hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's also, on the other hand, exciting, and also it's new and everything, so you're also a bit above ground, you know, it's exciting, you meet new people, and you talk to people, and you meet people and you become friends with them really fast because you're all there for the similar reasons. You know, you're sort of equal. Everybody's equal there. And the first phase is this beginning part where you just get used to walking, 20 to 30 kilometers every day, and what is called the physical phase. The second phase is the mental phase. It's where you're in your mind, it's about your attitudes, your thoughts, the way you're thinking about yourself, your life, you're pondering things, and so on. And a tough phase, because that's where a lot of people who's going to walk the Camino, they're either just doing it for personal reasons that has nothing to do with other than an experience, but many have come down because they have lost somebody close to them, lost their job, just want to find a new way in life, whatever that might be. And there's a lot of courage to find there among people who are not giving up on life, but really just want to have a break from everything, walk every day, and just see what life brings, and how healing and so on can take place. So that's the mental phase, and a very important one, and one that takes a long time for most people, and one that is very important. The third phase is the phase of the heart, the spiritual phase, or the one where you feel connected to everything or yourself, and you feel more happy and connected to nature, and sort of this very positive and nice state. And what is interesting about these three phases is that the first phase, you don't really notice, yes, it's hard, but you're still in this above ground excited phase. So while it's all hard, your excitement kind of overrules how hard it is, and also what you're actually there for. What was interesting was that I really became connected to a lot of great people there during the first days, and became a group of 8 to 10 people. I also fell in love with a really nice girl, and somebody I really love still, no matter what that means. She has a dear place in my heart. And I became friends with a lot of great people. And what was interesting was that as we got closer to the second phase, which I didn't know at the time, it took about 10 days to 2 weeks. And that's when people in our group began, first of all, to diminish. We became less and less people. And at the end, we were just 4 left, 2 couples, actually. And it was also a phase where people began to think about, why am I actually here? Why am I walking the Camino de Santiago? I'm not here to just walk with everybody. I'm here to figure stuff out for myself. And that's where people wanted to begin to walk by themselves. What was interesting was that during that time, which was the middle phase of the Camino, and across Spain, it's very flat. So compared to the first phase, where there was still mountains, there was a lot of gorgeous scenery and so on, the second phase was very flat. There was only cornfields, and there was not much excitement in terms of nature, landscape, and so on, which was also very hard, because that's when the mental phase kicked in, where people were going into their own themselves, and what am I here for? What am I going to do in life? Am I going to find a new job? Am I going to quit my job? Am I going to find another person to stay with, to be with, to live with? Whatever those questions might be, that was interesting that phase was sort of happening along with the landscape, which was very fascinating to me when I began to understand this, because it makes total sense for whatever reason. So that was very fascinating, and of course I went through the same thing, walking by myself a lot of the time. And even though my good friend Ricardo, who was filming everything during his trip, we sort of was together throughout the whole trip pretty much. We all had a very similar experience, I think, with that was important to walk by yourself, and to have that experience, and to have that time. It was also a time where, so that was the interesting phase. Then the third phase, you walk into Galicia, which is a very beautiful part of Spain. It's the northwest, and it's a gorgeous scenery. Landscape is just marvelous and beautiful. And it's also where you really are used to being a pilgrim. At the end of the trip, when there's only a few weeks left, you are used to this. And of course, you become used to it after a few weeks, but you're just more connected to yourself, that you have a life as a pilgrim now. This is how you live. This is daily life. You are sort of in tune with yourself, how you are doing this. And it's also a time where you really feel connected to yourself in a different way. At least for me, it was special. I was connected to other people. It was not as tough anymore. It was a way of life, and it was just easier to be happy, easier to be connected with with friends, with people, with nature, with life, everything. And along with that, the Galician nature and landscape was just marvelous. So it was very interesting that was actually what was going on landscape-wise, as well as personally with people, because it was very similar to what I've experienced from others that they went through. I want to finish with this. There was the cathedral in Santiago. I went in there with Ricardo, which was the Pilgrim Mass. And I'm not a religious person, but it's a very special time. And the 2 times I have walked a long trip in Spain and ended up in Santiago, it's a very special place to be because the energy is there. It's really nice. And for some reason, we were in there a bit close to half an hour before it really started. And as you might have heard, when people are dying, they see their whole life in front of them in a few milliseconds or whatever. They flash, the flash by them, their mind or whatever. Mind flash, I don't know. But I felt the exact same thing, or very similar, that the last 40 or 35 days by then, because I walked to the coast, I experienced the same thing. Really interesting how I just experienced this mass, intense trip. I saw my family, I saw the love, this girl, I saw all the friends we have, all the landscape, all the things we've gone through all these over the last month, just came out in crying, and I was just crying for no reason. It just came out, which was really special. And I stayed in Santiago for a few days, and then I continued on to the coast for another. So that was in total 4 or 5 days, and finished walking with this beautiful girl that I had met along the way, and finished where the movie The Way. If you have not seen the movie The Way, I highly recommend watching that. It finishes in Murcia, so my goal was to finish in the same way, and that's what I did. And when I saw the ocean at that time, I knew it was over. I knew the whole trip was over, and there was nothing more to do. And that was just a special trip that I will remember for my entire life, and I will go back. I love walking far, and yes, I will also talk about my trip in Portugal, which I did 1 year later. So I think that was enough. I hope the 3 phases of the Camino can help you, because you can relate it to anything in life. When you start something, it's superficial, you haven't gotten into the depth of it yet. It will take some time to get used to, and then you begin to open up to how you're connected to whatever it might be. So maybe that can be of help. I hope this was nice, good. Subscribe to my channel. I hope you will continue to watch my daily Gs and spread them around. I will continue to post these, and a lot more content will come over the next days, weeks, and months. So thanks for watching, and be in touch. See ya.